Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really cutting through some of the hype around artificial intelligence.
Yeah, there's a lot of it.
There is. And we want to tackle a really critical question for businesses. Are we actually using AI smartly for the future? Or are we maybe just repeating some expensive mistakes from the past?
Hmm.
Our insights today, they come from someone with direct experience, a director of automation, and their own observations of how AI adoption is playing out right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to understand exactly why seeing AI as just, a replacement for people is, well, flawed.
Right.
Recognize how this mirrors maybe past missteps and really get the potential of AI as a tool to enhance our teams, make them better.
Augment, not just replace.
Exactly. History kind of shows us, and we're seeing it again with some AI adoption, that this short-term focus on cost cutting by replacing people, it often leads to losing expertise, losing resilience down the line.
That's the real risk.
The real power, we think, lies in augmenting human talent.
That's spot on. And the numbers really highlight why we need to talk about this now.
Yeah.
There was a 2024 industry report. It found 30% of companies have already replaced some employees with AI.
30% already. Wow.
And get this, the projection for next year, 2025, jumps to 38%.
That's a big leap.
It is. And on top of that, a recent CEO survey, half of them said they're actively thinking about more replacements. So this isn't just a small thing happening on the fringes.
No, it sounds like a major trend we need to really examine closely.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's unpack this core idea then, AI as a replacement. One of the sort of fundamental points in our sources is that generative AI, it's not some magic employee you just plug in.
Right, it's not a person.
No, it's better understood as like a supercharged calculator, but specifically for language.
Calculator for language, I like that.
Yeah, think about how it processes and spits out human-like text. That makes it amazing for language tasks, obviously. It's a tool, a really powerful one.
Hugely powerful.
And it can definitely boost efficiency for skilled people.
Yeah.
But the danger comes when companies get, lured by the idea of quick cost savings.
The bottom line.
And they start cutting whole departments for these AI solutions without really thinking through the long-term consequences.
And what's really interesting here is the parallel the source material draws with offshoring. It's a genuinely insightful comparison.
Offshoring, right. I remember that wave.
Yeah. Remember the initial appeal? Shifting work to places with cheaper labor? On the surface, it seemed like a no-brainer.
Lower wages, less overhead, immediate savings, or so it seems.
Exactly. The focus was all about cutting costs right then and there. Key takeaway here. Those lessons from offshoring about hidden costs, they apply directly to AI replacement.
Absolutely. And our source, having been a director of automation, they saw firsthand how often that initial appeal just fizzled out. It didn't lead to long-term success. There were all these hidden costs, these negative side effects that just chipped away at those savings over time.
Precisely. The source points out several big pitfalls. A major one was losing domain knowledge, that institutional context.
The how things actually work around here, knowledge.
Exactly. That deep understanding of the company's specific industry, its history, the unwritten rules, stuff that takes years for people to learn.
Right.
External teams, no matter how skilled, they just often didn't have that built-in understanding that your own employees have. Crucial details got missed.
And it wasn't just about, like, historical knowledge, right? The source says you can write down processes.
Sure, you can document things.
But really getting the subtle company priorities or what customers really need, that takes a deeper insight that, the outsourced teams often lacked.
Which brings up the whole question of actual cost savings. Did they really save money?
Good question.
Because the source talks about how that supposedly cheaper workforce often needed a lot more oversight, significant rework, constant coaching from the internal staff who were left.
So these hidden operational costs just piled up.
They really did.
Yeah.
And they could quickly eat up any savings you thought you were getting.
And that's before you even get to the communication headaches.
Oh, yeah. Time zones, language barriers, cultural differences,
Yeah.
all leading to delays, mistakes.
Undermining efficiency gains. The source also mentioned a Forbes analysis.
Right. That highlighted the often underestimated cost of needing extra managers, like technical leads or project managers, just to coordinate those offshore teams.
Another hidden cost.
And the source gives this really concrete example: costly errors in client benefit plans.
Oof, yeah. That sounds serious.
Very. And it stemmed directly from offshore miscommunication. It shows how these seemingly small issues can blow up financially, wiping out any initial savings completely.
So looking back at offshoring, the big lesson, as the source really hammers home, is the goal should always be to scale up what your workforce can do.
Empower them.
Yeah, make them more effective, not just cut jobs. Which, naturally, brings us right back to today and this push to replace workers with AI.
And we're seeing some pretty big examples happening right now.
Like what?
Well, IBM's CEO, for example, he's publicly talked about plans to replace around 30% of their back office roles.
30%? That's huge.
Yeah, roughly 800 jobs. Think HR, accounting, replacing them with AI over the next 5 years.
Wow. Okay. And it's not just IBM, is it?
Not at all. BT Group, over in the UK, they're planning cuts of up to 55,000 jobs by 2030.
55,000.
Massive. And they estimate about 10,000 of those roles will be specifically replaced by AI systems, part of their push to become leaner.
The leaner operation.
Then there's Dukan, that Indian e-commerce startup. They got a lot of attention because they replaced 90% of their customer support with an AI chatbot.
90%. And the CEO was quite vocal about it, wasn't he?
Publicly framing it as a cost-saving win that cut customer wait times dramatically.
And like we said, these aren't just one-offs. That industry report suggests this is picking up speed.
Right.
The initial appeal, I mean, you can see it, right? No salaries, no benefits, no vacation time, from a pure short-term financial view.
It looks tempting. Very tempting.
But if we connect this back to what we just discussed with offshoring, we have to look at the long-term risks.
Absolutely. Just like shipping jobs overseas, replacing experienced people with AI, it can lead to this critical loss of expertise, that institutional knowledge.
Yeah, you can't just, like, program a 20-year veteran's gut feeling into an algorithm.
Exactly. It doesn't work that way.
And think about the impact on morale, your employer brand.
Huge impact.
If people see their colleagues getting swapped out for software, it creates fear, uncertainty. People feel devalued.
Of course. And they're less likely to be engaged, less productive, probably more likely to look for jobs elsewhere, too.
Who wants to stick around a place that might just automate their job away next quarter?
Right. And this also makes the whole operation more fragile.
How so?
Well, what happens if the AI system messes up? Or it can't adapt to a sudden change, like new regulations or a market shift?
Good point.
If you've gotten rid of most of your experienced humans, who's left to troubleshoot? Who can fix things quickly?
You lose that human ability to adapt and solve novel problems.
Precisely. And let's not forget the customer experience side.
Yes.
AI can handle the simple stuff, sure. But when customers have complex, unusual problems, they often want to talk to a real person.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a human.
And if that option isn't easily available anymore, frustration goes way up. Your reputation takes a hit.
So the core point here seems to be, okay, maybe you get some quick cost cuts replacing people with AI.
Maybe. Short term.
But you fundamentally weaken the business over time. You risk losing adaptability, creativity, deep expertise, all the things a well-supported human team brings.
Exactly. Which leads us to the much better alternative, right?
Right. Thinking of AI not as a replacement, but as a, what did the source call it? A force multiplier for talent.
A force multiplier. I like that. The idea is you invest in your current employees, give them the AI tools to amplify what they can do, make them more effective.
So AI should augment human skills, not just erase them.
Exactly. And we're already seeing proof this works. That MIT and Stanford study you brought up, it showed a pretty significant productivity boost, about 14% on average, for customer support agents who use generative AI assistants.
14% average boost is not bad at all.
Not bad. And that's just the average. Another analysis in the sources found employees using AI for things like writing, data analysis. They saw productivity gains up to 66%.
66%? Wow, that's a massive jump.
Huge. And the source's own experience in benefits administration really paints a clear picture here.
Right. Tell us about that.
It's a field needing precision, empathy, deep knowledge, right? Multiple roles involved.
Sure. Product manager, process designer, complex stuff.
Well, AI isn't taking over those jobs. Instead, it's acting like a super efficient assistant.
How so?
It handles the grunt work, sifting through mountains of data, drafting routine emails or communications, things like that.
Okay, so it frees up the humans.
Exactly. It frees up the professionals to focus on the strategic, higher-level work that really needs their skills and judgment.
So the overall workload, it hasn't necessarily gone down.
Not really. But, and this is the key point, the ceiling on what the team can accomplish. That's gone way up.
Ah, so they can handle more.
They can manage more projects, respond faster to clients, keep the quality high, all without burning out.
That sounds like a much better outcome.
It's fundamentally about working smarter, not just faster.
Hmm.
AI helps increase the throughput, the amount of work they can handle, without letting standards slip.
The power tool analogy the source used seems pretty good then.
Yeah, it really fits.
Yeah.
AI is a power tool for your employees. It multiplies their output, multiplies their talent, instead of just replacing them.
Which seems like the logical path forward then. The companies that are really going to thrive with AI, they won't be the ones desperately trying to automate everyone out of a job.
Yeah.
They'll be the ones who strategically empower their people with AI, enhance their skills, their knowledge, their creativity.
And that requires a real shift in leadership thinking, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
You have to see AI not just as a way to cut costs, but as a strategic asset, something that makes your teams genuinely more effective, more innovative.
Even big companies are saying this now. Verizon, for instance, the source mentions, they explicitly stated their AI strategy is about helping humans work better, smarter, not replacing them.
Right, and the research backs this up too. The most productive companies, often they're the ones using AI extensively to assist their people.
Okay, so practically speaking, how do you make AI that force multiplier in your organization? What are the steps?
Well, the source really emphasizes investing in training, good training, and change management. You need employees to understand these tools, trust them, and actually use them effectively.
Makes sense. You can't just drop a tech on people.
No. And you need to involve the teams in the process. Ask them. Address their concerns. Focus on how AI can actually help their specific jobs, their workflows.
So focus on augmentation, not just automation.
That's the key. And ultimately, the organizations that take this human-centric approach, using AI to lift up their workforce, they're going to build a much more sustainable competitive advantage.
More sustainable than those just focused on cutting headcount through automation?
Exactly right. The challenge for leaders today is harnessing AI in a way that truly supports and enhances their people.
Right.
If you get that right, you end up with a workforce that's not just more productive, but also more engaged, more adaptable.
And crucially,
you keep that vital institutional knowledge and you maintain customer trust.
So as you've been listening today, maybe here's a final thought for you to consider, kind of inspired by our source's own closing question. Think about your own company. How is it approaching AI right now? Are you seeing it being used to sort of scale up what your teams can do, to empower people? Or is the main push really about scaling down headcount? It's definitely worth thinking about the long-term implications of each path.
Definitely something to mull over.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.